Ladies and gentlemen, now this is probably one of the most influential conferences in the space and defense sector worldwide, and it is therefore an absolute privilege for me to open up this afternoon session of this 8th GovSatCom edition. And here I'm especially proud to see that these discussions do take place right here in Luxembourg, a country that is extremely committed to space. As Sasha Bailey did put it earlier, a country that drives innovation, a country that drives cooperation, a country that drives partnerships. A country that is pushing well beyond its weight class when it comes to space. And for GovSat, as Chris announced, this year holds a very particular significance in the sense that we are celebrating our 10th anniversary, marking indeed a decade of commitment, a decade of providing highly secured services and assured SATCOM services to our users, to NATO, to allied nations. Now, if you think back 10 years ago when the company was incepted, the industry and the environment looked nothing like it does today. AI was still at a very early stage. Europe was launching on Ariane 5. SpaceX was 2 years away from its first reused booster for commercial launch. And then GSO constellations, while they were still on the drawing board back 10 years ago. Also back 10 years in the domain of MilSatcom, secure satellite communications were operated and controlled by a handful of nations, each operating primarily proprietary and government-designed systems, and with only very limited cooperation in between. And it was in this environment that the Luxembourg government and SES at that time took a bold step. Back in February 2015, they challenged the traditional MilSatcom model, pushing for secure satellite communications to become more scalable, more accessible, and more innovative. And as it was mentioned a few times this morning, we made it happen. We launched what I would call was at that time the first true GovSatCom satellite, combining military-grade resiliency with the agility and the efficiency of the commercial space industry. And as a public-private partnership between the Luxembourg government and SES, GovSat is uniquely positioned at the intersection between governmental and commercial capabilities and services. It is this dual capability that has enabled us to service critical SATCOM requirements in two distinct ways. First, as a national satellite operator of security-hardened services, and it is primarily through the Ministry of Defense that GovSat supports today multiple bilateral government-to-government agreements. We are supporting the EDA pooling and sharing agreement, making MilSatcom accessible in a very effective way to European EDA members. And very importantly, we do now support NATO's 6th generation SATCOM, secure SATCOM, which is the NSS 6G program that was mentioned previously, that is the former CP130, that at that time was limited to 4 nations. And just a few weeks ago, as announced by the Minister and also Geoffroy, the Luxembourg Defense has officially joined the NSS 6G program, bringing highly assured SHF capacities and services on GovSat-1 to the consortia over the next decade. And this marks a very important step for us as an organization and company. And second, it is through SES Space and Defense that we have continuously extended our reach as a trusted provider of secure SATCOM services worldwide. It is this collaboration that has brought MilSatcom capabilities into the portfolio of SES Space and Defense, serving users worldwide and in particular as well the US Department of Defense. And at the same time, it has allowed us as an organization to integrate GEO and MEO capabilities with enhanced security layers, cleared personnel, and operational expertise from the MilSatcom domain. And all this is very essential to our users. If we take, for instance, the NATO AGS, the ground surveillance program, it is operated on commercial Ku-band capacities, but it is our GovSat personnel that are embedded within the NATO forces at Sigonella, ensuring a seamless and secured SATCOM support to ensure mission support to NATO in these particular challenging times. And likewise, in the MGS program that was announced multiple times this morning, it is our cleared operations teams that will provide secure SATCOM support to NATO users on O3b and power capabilities and capacities. For us, this marks a very important step towards delivering services across multiple orbits. Ladies and gentlemen, since GovSat was established 10 years ago, space has expanded exponentially. It is the rapid rise of disruptive NGSO constellations such as Starlink, O3b and Power, and soon Kuiper that have fundamentally reshaped the satellite industry, driving increased accessibility and new capabilities. And at the same time, the strategic importance of space has never been greater. NATO's recognition of space as an operational domain, the establishment of national space commands, and the war in the Ukraine now entering the fourth year, where this is introducing yet another new reality, one where space-based capabilities are truly contested more than ever before. State actors in that context are conducting extensive electronic warfare. They do conduct cyber attacks. They execute close-by approaches to our satellites. And we see this every day. These threats are real, and they affect all available SATCOM solutions and architectures across all orbits and in different ways. And this is why multi-orbit strategies that have been elaborated this morning are so essential. And this is also why SATCOM from the GEO orbit adds resilience, even when having access to the most sophisticated NGSO constellation. If we take last December, a major LEO constellation went offline for several days, leaving users without access to critical communications. This was not due to cyber threats, this was not due to electronic warfare, this was a software glitch, and yet an entire constellation went temporarily unavailable. And this serves to us as a reminder that no single architecture, regardless of scale or technological sophistication, is immune to failure. And this is why it's so important to have contingencies and alternatives when it comes to operating in contested environment. And this is exactly where GovSat has remained laser-focused for the last 10 years. Michael Porter once said, the essence of strategy is choosing what not to do. Now, this comes from an economist. I don't know what the military version of that is, but what he meant was pretty simple, right? Focus on where you can make a difference. Focus on where you can lead. And for us, this focus is clear. That is on the GEO orbit, that is on SATCOM, and that is on the services and the security around. Ladies and gentlemen, GovSat-1 is now nearing full operational capacity. And we stand really at a very pivotal moment. The security landscape is evolving very rapidly, and the need for resilient and sovereign SATCOM solutions has never ever been greater. And it is in this context that I can confirm what the Minister of Defense announced already this morning, that we are in the final design and evaluation phase of a next generation GovSat program, one that aims to deliver a major extension of our services at the highest level of assurance. And when this program is finally approved and contracted, it will mark yet another major development for us, for our users, supporting NATO, supporting allied nations, with the secure SATCOM capabilities that they need for the next decade and that you need for the next decade and well beyond. Ladies and gentlemen, looking ahead for the rest of this afternoon, we have a pretty loaded agenda. We will further deepen the very critical themes on multi-orbit strategy, on cybersecurity, and in particular also on the growing complexity of the threats in space. And I would really look forward to gaining that further insight this afternoon. Now, before I conclude, my thanks to Melanie and the organizing team for putting really this remarkable event together. A great thanks to our sponsors for their continued support. And a great thanks to all of you for your dedication to space and defense. And last but not least, for those staying this evening, I look forward for celebrating our 10th anniversary. Stay tuned. There will be some surprises, and thank you for your attention today.